guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an article titled 5 Ways That Men Contribute More to the Climate Crisis Than Women. And a big shout out to Eric for sending me this article. And yes, guys, as the title says, once again, men are being blamed for something else, and this time it is the climate crisis. That apparently, according to the author of this article, and non-biased research, of course, we contribute more towards problems in the environment than women. Okay? Ridiculous. I mean, every day it's something new that we're being blamed for, you know. Or a tornado suddenly strikes a town, we're blamed for it. A lightning storm strikes an area and strikes somebody, we're blamed for it. The stock market corrects 10%, we're blamed for it. But anything positive, we don't get the credit for, then women get the credit for. I know I'm exaggerating here, but you kind of get the point here. And this whole thing is going to go into all these ways that us guys are obviously terrible for this world and the negative impact that we have. Like, you're going to see things like, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to get into this here. But it's just ridiculous. I wasn't going to do another video today, but I saw this came into me, so I figured it was pretty funny. So I'm just going to I decided I'm going to do this, squeeze this video in before tonight. So it starts off. It says here, according to researchers in Sweden, single men emit over 18% more greenhouse gases than women. Sweden. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Sweden a country that definitely embraces the feminist movement? And the feminists like to blame men for all the problems in the world, so no surprise there. And by the way, when they talk about researchers, I always have to question, and I encourage you guys to research the researchers, what the bias these researchers have. What's their political bias? Okay? And what is the bias of those that fund the research? Okay? Do they want the people that they are paying to do research come up with something that goes against their own views? One has to question these things. Anyhow, it says a new study published in the Journal of Industrial Ecology on July 19th compared the carbon footprint of both single men and single women before and after both groups made sustainable swaps to their lifestyles, such as taking a train to their holiday destination instead of an airplane and switching out dairy for plant-based products. Researchers concluded that even after making changes to reduce their emissions, single men still emitted 18% more greenhouse gases than women. Of course, because we're the devil. It says Annika Carlson Kanyama of the KTH Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden, who led the study, well, she sounds like an feminist. That's an feminist name. Said the findings show it is important to consider the differences between men and women when drafting policy surrounding the climate crisis. Let me guess. Drafting policy. Does that mean probably more taxes for guys because, you know, we're the devil and we, according to this research, cause more problems with pollution or whatever? She says, I'm surprised more studies have been done about the gender differences in environmental impact. There are quite clear differences and they are not likely to go away in the near future, she told The Guardian. Gender. That's all you hear about anymore. And now I got to add it into the things with the environment. The UN has previously deemed that the climate crisis is not a gender-neutral issue, finding that disparities in economic opportunities, as well as societal, cultural, and religious norms, render women more vulnerable to its effects. One 2016 report found that 80% of the people displaced by the climate crisis globally are women. Here are 5 ways men contribute more to the climate crisis than women. Now wait till you hear all these. Number 1. It's not how much money they spend, it's how they spend it. Ahead of the swap to low-to-emission alternatives, researchers in Sweden found that men on average were emitting around 2,000 kilograms more greenhouse gases than women per year. The study noted that while there was not much economic disparity between the groups, men only spent 2% more money than women. Men's expenditure patterns drove their carbon footprint up by 16%. Are they trying to tell us that men spend more money than women? Is that what they're trying to say? Because I beg to differ. Men are much more likely to save their money and be a little more choosy in what they buy things. Women, by and large, most women, at least American women, they spend money like there's no tomorrow. Why do you think credit card companies are such great companies to own stock in? Aside from the fact that most people use credit cards instead of cash, is that so many people here live beyond their means. And a lot of them are women because they love to spend, and have those revolving balances that there is interest on. I invest in credit card companies, and that's one of the reasons I do it. And I have yet to be disappointed. It says women tend to spend more on low-emitting products and services, such as healthcare, furnishings, and clothes, while men spend 70% on their money on products that lead to high greenhouse gas emissions, such as fuel. Fuel? Are you telling me that women don't drive cars? Are you telling me that women don't ride on planes? Last time I checked, when I was on a plane a few weeks ago, there were just as many women as there were men on that airplane. And I don't know any women that like to voluntarily take the bus or something like that. They prefer to drive if they can. So come on here. It says they take more holidays. According to European Federation for Transport and Environment, the aviation industry is responsible for almost 5% of global warming. In 2019, airplane flights produced 915 million tons of carbon dioxide. Of those, men and women who took part in the latest study, holidays accounted for approximately a third of emissions for both groups. But men's holidays cause more emissions than women's, primarily because they take more of them. Back to the bullshit. I love to travel. I really do. And when COVID and all this BS is finally over across the world, I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot more of that. But guess what? I've yet to meet a woman that doesn't like to travel too. More and more women, I've noticed, like to travel more than guys. Okay? A lot of guys are more homebodies and they're cool kind of being in their area, taking road trips, but women love to travel. And I do mean like get on a plane and go someplace. So saying here that it's guys want to do it more, I call bullshit, because a lot of guys actually be just content staying in their area, and that's about it, not going too far in life. But way more women, we opt to travel even if they can't afford it. So again, more bullshit. Says So men are also more likely to travel to their holidays by either airplane or car, which are both greenhouse emissions heavy options. As a result, they spend 35% more on holidays than women on items such as fuel and other car maintenance. Well, the car maintenance, because usually if it's a household where it's a married couple, the guy takes the car to get the car maintenance done, because a lot of times women are fearful that the mechanic or wherever they go is going to try to say, oh, this is wrong, so you got to pay for this, or that's wrong. And it's usually guy territory. So don't tell me about maintenance, because the guy's usually doing it for his wife. Okay? And they drive just as much as guys do. And if it's travel, more. So it's bullshit. Next one. They drive longer distances. The latest figures recorded by the Department of Transport's National Travel Survey found that while men take fewer car journeys than women in the UK, they travel longer distances. Overall, men travel approximately 670 more miles by car than women per year. Well, probably a lot of times if there's a family, the guy is probably the one driving. Okay? He's probably driving longer distance. That's usually the situation. Most of the time, you look in the car and you see a family going, the guy is driving. So men are being assigned blame here when actually both parties are doing the family trips and stuff like that. A 2020 study that looked at the way almost 50,000 men and women travel in New Zealand found similar results. Researchers at the University of Otago in Wellington concluded that while women made more car journeys than men, their trips were shorter by 7 to 10 miles. They were also more likely to use public transportation, leading to a smaller carbon footprint. Again, I call bullshit on that, but maybe that's New Zealand and not here in the States. Okay, so it's possible. So for any of you New Zealand guys watching me now, let me know what you think about that in the comment section. It says, next one. Some men think being environmentally conscious is unmanly. In 2017, researchers at Utah State University and the University of Notre Dame carried out several experiments on more than 2,000 American and Chinese men and women to determine whether being eco-friendly is perceived as being feminine. The study found that most men associate environmentally friendly behavior with being feminine, while both men and women judge eco-friendly products and consumers as more feminine than those who are not environmentally conscious. Look, I mean, I'm more than happy to recycle and do things that will help out the environment, but I'm not going to be over the top. And I know people, because I'm here in Massachusetts, that are definitely over the top. And a moment is going to describe something that's definitely, in my opinion, a little over the top. It says, in one experiment, both men and women described a person using a reusable canvas bag at the grocery store as more feminine than someone using a plastic bag. And another, men and women said they felt more feminine after doing something good for the environment. Well, about those reusable bags in grocery stores. A lot of places, like for instance where I live, they banned plastic bags at the grocery store a number of years ago. There we go with the sirens. Okay, and now they have regular brown bags. And let me tell you something, those brown bags are a giant pain in the ass, because you put anything more than a carton of eggs in there and they're going to break. So more and more bags are being used, where the plastic bags you can use less to carry more items. So they encourage people to buy these different bags that you take with you to the store, put the stuff in and walk away. I refuse to do that out of pure principle, because I don't want to be, A, I don't want to be one of those guys, and two, and B, here's the deal. Some plastic bags from the grocery store and plastic straws, I might add, because a lot of places ban plastic straws in restaurants. Guess what? That's not going to save the freaking planet. There are far bigger issues that are going to cause problems to the environment than plastic bags at the grocery store and plastic straws. Okay, so I refuse to do that. But I certainly will help out in different areas to be environmentally friendly, and I got no problem with that. Okay, one of the biggest areas I help out is, wait for it, I don't have any kids, and I don't plan to have any kids, because the more people you have on the planet, the more resources, and you can figure out the math there. Some people may not like me saying that, but it is what it is. That's my biggest contribution towards the environment. No kids. More people need more resources, and so on and so forth. Another one we're getting blamed for, it says few men are vegan. According to Greenpeace UK, the agriculture industry and deforestation make up a quarter of global greenhouse gas emissions, while animal farming is responsible for 60% of emissions from agriculture. A 2014 study of 11,000 vegans in the United States found that men make up just 24% of the demographic. In the UK, a 2020 survey by Our Sporting Life estimated 8.1% of women in the UK are vegan, compared to 5.9% of men. Well, I can't say I'm surprised there. The latest study, led by Canva, found that when both groups of men and women swapped meat and dairy for plant-based alternatives, their emissions were reduced by 32 to 38%. As women tend to eat more dairy than men to begin with, their carbon emissions were reduced more when they switched to dairy alternatives. The study found that emissions from the sourcing of all vegetables, whether local or not, were low. Thus, it is the change to buying plant-based options instead of meat and dairy products that contributes most of the emissions reductions, researchers said. So in other words, they're trying to say that because guys will find that unmanly, that eating vegetables and being vegan is unmanly, that we're not going to do it and it's our fault. Okay. Now here's the deal. I have reduced more my meat intake because for health reasons, okay? And I do know that the more animal farming you have, the more emissions from the manure and things like that is an issue. I agree with that. But I do more for health. So I've greatly reduced red meat. I eat more poultry and fish, but that's my own personal choice. But with regards to vegans, and hey, you know what? To each their own. But I've never met a vegan that doesn't like to talk about being a vegan all the time. Any of you guys that know vegans know what I'm talking about. I know a few, and they're nice people, don't get me wrong, but that's all they talk about, being vegans. And they're the types that bring their own food to restaurants, and there's always an argument and an issue with the restaurant because the restaurant is there to serve food, not to be a cafeteria. And I've known vegans that would try to bring their own food to go to restaurants to eat with other people. It's ridiculous. There's plenty of other things, you know. And so perhaps if vegans weren't such a giant pain in the ass they can be, that I've observed, perhaps there'd be a better, reception of them. But yeah, I'm not surprised more and more women are there, but still making this whole, by the way, the article ended, all this here making us guys out to be once again the bad guy, and saying because women do this, and this, according to them and their biased research, in my opinion, and therefore we're the bad guys again. And I'm just waiting for something to be slapped on us, aside from the shame tactics, which happens quite often. I'm waiting for more taxes or something like that, but it's ridiculous. But anyhow, guys, I saw this article. I thought it would be a good one to do and cover, but again, once again, being blamed. But again, you always have to question, where's this research come from? What is behind the research? What is the political views of the people conducting the research, financing the research, and all that? And I even ask that when I see research that backs up my own conclusions or things that I agree with. I have to question that as well. So, but anyhow, guys, I thought it'd be an entertaining one. Once again, now we're being blamed for the environment. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you agree with me about these different things, about the spending of money and usage of fuel and all that, saying that we do more, because I beg to differ on a lot of things that they, according to this so-called research, said. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.